There are a couple of things I want to talk about as well, having to do with Facebook questions, and one of them comes from Michelle Smith, who says, I have a very bad problem. I was saved 5 years ago and baptized, and I try so hard not to smoke cigarettes, but I mess up every single day. I try my best to live right and do what God says, but I'm having so much trouble with cigarettes. Am I still saved? An important question because of the last phrase or the last question, am I still saved? Well, let me say a few things about this, and I've had some intimate contact with cigarettes over the last few weeks. I was in Greece, and you go to the cafes in Greece, and everybody's smoking cigarettes. You go to a taxi cab, and they're smoking cigarettes. Cigarettes are consumed at a frightening rate in countries like Greece, other European countries that I've been over the last few years. So cigarettes are still a huge problem, although they're minimally used by comparison in the United States of America. Still used, but minimally by comparison at least. So what I would say about cigarettes is that they're self-evidently harmful to the temple of the Holy Spirit. And because of that, we ought to think very, very carefully and clearly about whether we want to engage in something that's going to curtail our usefulness for Christ. In saying that, I'm not in any way suggesting that if you smoke cigarettes or you're addicted to cigarettes, you can't go to heaven. You might even get there faster. But we ought to take these kinds of practices seriously because we take seriously the temple of the Holy Spirit. God has given us a temple. There are no do-overs. We only have one of them. And we have to be good stewards of the temple of the Holy Spirit. But don't for a moment think that because you're addicted to something that you're not going to go to heaven. What you ought to do is find ways of breaking the addiction. And there are a lot of ways of doing that. I'm not an expert on the ways of doing that because I've never been addicted to cigarettes. But addictions are enslaving. We got to get rid of anything that impedes one's ability to be self-controlled, because the fruit of the Spirit is self-control. And you lose self-control with addictions, particularly the addiction to nicotine. It's an incredibly difficult circumstance, but I don't want you to feel in any way, Michelle, that because you have this addiction that you're not going to go to heaven. Seek out remedies for the addiction. And pray that the Lord will help you break those bonds. I have had my own addictions. I had an addiction to a particular medication. I used it to sleep. And I had to find ways to break the addiction to that medication. The medication wasn't really bad for me, I don't think, but I still didn't want to be addicted to anything, so I broke the addiction to that particular medication. So there are addictions that we form as we go through life, and I think we have to do all we can to try to free ourselves of those addictions.